Happy Wednesday, FlossTube. Hello, crafty friends. How's everybody doing today? My name's Caroline. Welcome back, Daily Crafty Chat. If you're new here, this is a channel where I talk mostly about cross stitch and knitting and sewing, all the crafty things. Okay, so yes, December the 30th. December the 30th, it is 10:45 a.m. I am just waiting until 11 for the auctions to end. These are the auctions that are up on my Instagram page at Off the Grid Needlearts that are benefiting Muscular Dystrophy Canada. So of course, by the time this video goes up, those auctions will have ended. So I will have a grand total tomorrow to share with you for how much money we've raised as a community this month for Muscular Dystrophy Canada. And I did receive an email, a text from Patty Brake this morning. Patty Brake is the designer and friend of mine who does the yearly Flossmas charity ornament. 50% of the proceeds are donated to MDC, and you can find her Etsy page. She is 4 boys and a Newfoundland girl, and she's linked below. She texted me this morning and told me that the pattern sales have raised $440 Canadian, and Patty is going to bump up that total to $550. And she's going to donate that money to MDC in the next couple of days. So yay, hooray, that $550. And Patty, thank you so much for both designing such a fun pattern for everybody. I still have yet to start mine. There have been 3 Flossmas patterns come out, 2018, 19, and 20. I have stitched 2019. 2018 is half complete, and I haven't started 2020 yet. However, you know, that's pretty typical of me. I love to just buy charts because, first of all, I'm supporting a designer, and second of all, I just like to have them in my stash for future dreams and future plans. However, I really would love to have every single year's Flossmas ornament complete. So, $550. How fantastic is that? That's just incredible. Okay, so yes, the last of the auctions are ending today. I will have a grand total to share with you tomorrow. So that's pretty exciting. I've been doing a little bit of crafting. So last night, since yesterday, since I spoke with you last. I thought I would share my knitting first because I have talked about my January 1st start for cross stitch, which is going to be the Historische Stiekmuster. Okay, now I want to say it was Sylvia, but it wasn't Sylvia. I apologize. There was someone who left me a comment yesterday about the German pronunciation for the name of my chart, my new start. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best, but I have a little confession, and I did already leave this in a comment to this person who left me the comment. I actually tried to take German in first year university as an extra credit. You had to take, I have a music degree, flute performance, and you had to take, you know, you have to take various other credits in order to plump up the requirements. Okay, so I took German because I was in French immersion as a child. For those of you not in Canada, French, we are a bilingual country. French is our second official language, and many Canadian children, and perhaps more in Southern Ontario. I'm not sure how, I'm sure French immersion is countrywide. However, I only have experience in Southern Ontario. And in grade 7, where I grew up, now there are in London, at least where I live now, you can put your child into a French immersion school right from kindergarten. But where I grew up, it was a new program that was offered in my small town that started in grade 7. So when you were in grade 7, you were able to apply and, you know, apply for a French immersion class. It was a very small class. I think there were only 2 in the whole town where I was. And so I was accepted, and I took French immersion for 4 years. It's a rather sad story why I stopped French immersion. That's a story for another day. However, I really enjoyed French. I loved learning French. Because I mean, right from day one, the teacher only spoke French. And so it was sort of that, you know, jumping into the middle of learning a language, and immersion is really the correct word for it. You really are immersed. So I love languages. I love listening to different people speak their languages or accents. I just find that fascinating. So I took German in first year university thinking that, oh, I'm going to love this and I'm going to be so good at it, and I'll get a great mark, so it'll bump up the rest of my mark. Well, let me tell you, I struggled so badly from day one. I was terrible at learning German. And so embarrassingly for me, I gave up after a month, because I realized quickly that this was going to be a very, very difficult course for me, and I was going to struggle to achieve a decent mark. And so you know, looking back, you think these are the kinds of things that challenge you, and you should have stuck with it. You should have kept going and tried harder. But you know, I was 19 at the time, and I gave up. So all of that to preface the fact that I have zero German accent when I try to pronounce these words. So I appreciate that she took the time to help me. And so I'm going to try, and let's see if I get it right. So the V is pronounced like an F. So instead of veer, it's fear. Okay, I think I'm on the right track. So the veer is fear. And then the last part that I've been saying, land, because in English, that's how I would read that. Instead of land, it's lend. And then I think you pronounce the E at the end, if I read her instructions correctly. So you pronounce the lend, and then you give an extra at the end. So vierlende. Is that right? Did I get it? If I got it right, let me know, and then I will try my very hardest to continue saying it as correctly as I can, because, well, that's fun. It's fun to try and say things correctly. So vierlende, vierlende. Where is the accent? Is it vierlende or is it vierlende with the I don't know. I would have an easier time if it were French, because, you know, all of my 4 years of French experience. Oh dear. Anyways, funny story. That really took me down memory lane thinking about that German class. So thank you for that. Okay, so I've already explained my vierlende is my newest cross stitch start that I'm planning on starting on January 1st. I am hosting it as a stitch along. You can find it on the Silk Stitching app, which is an iOS app at the moment. I think there are plans in the future to make that a little bit wider based, but at the moment it's only iOS. However, that is my dog. If you're new here, I have a great big American Bulldog mix. Her name is Luna, and she snores really loudly. So if that's what you're hearing, it is coming from what you're listening to. She is always beside me, and she's sleeping very soundly. Where was I? Right. Okay. So they will also have it available on January 1st on their website, which is historischstickmuster.com. There is a link in the drop down box below, and you will be able to purchase that as a PDF download, print it out, and you can join in. So you don't have to have an iOS device. Anyone is welcome to join, and it is gorgeous. I cannot wait to start. I was messaging with Carrie last night, the dyer of the new Leo and Roxy Floss. She is also part of the duo. Carrie and Jolynn are the dyers behind Leo and Roxy Yarn Co. And I have managed to convince Carrie to join me in stitching this gorgeous sampler. And so she was choosing her flosses last night, and we were talking about fabric and cut size and all of that good stuff. And I'll tell you, it got me really excited about, you know, starting it, and being a little bit disappointed that I actually have to wait a couple of days. However, that's okay. So then I was thinking, I always like to have a new knitting start as well. I don't think I did one last year. I don't remember, but I don't think I did a knitting new start last year. I did start the Brenda Keyes sampler, the red sampler house, the red house. I did start that as my New Year's new start last year, but I don't think I had a knitting start. So my new knitting start this year for 2021, January 1st, is actually a restart. And I have mentioned it before, so I won't go into great detail. But this morning, do you remember this yarn? I shared this with you maybe 6 weeks, 2 months ago. This yarn, I know, and it's so out of character for me. This color is just, and I love this color, but it's not something I usually purchase. I don't usually buy green. I don't usually knit with green. And I was really drawn to it. So this is a Madeline Tosh Twist Light in the colorway Jade. And it is a 75% merino, 25% nylon fingering weight, and there is 420 yards. I have 3 skeins. So I am going to, just this morning, this was cast on. I had started this into a different project. I'm not going to tell you about that project because it does a disservice to the designer who designed a beautiful shawl, and the problem was completely with me, the knitter. Too many problems to continue. And I really want to restart that shawl, so I'll tell you about that when I do actually restart it. However, I ripped it out and I'm ready to cast on my restart of my friend Josh, her Caroline shawl that she designed with me in mind. And so how can I not cast on a Caroline shawl? I need one. I have the one that Josh knit for me. In fact, I have it right here. I keep my shawls in here so that I know where they are and keep them safe. And so this is my Caroline shawl that Josh actually knit for me. And so this one, so now I've got it out. Let's wear it for the rest of this morning. There we go. Love that color. Does it remind you of Josh knows the colors that I like. So I'll tell you about this one in a minute. Okay, so this is the Caroline shawl that Josh knit for me, and I am going to knit one for myself. So I'm going to restart it in this yarn. Now the reason I have 2 skeins started was because I was alternating skeins right from the beginning of the other shawl. Because this yarn has quite a bit of variegation in it, I wanted to make sure, and the shawl that I was using it for was quite, there was quite a bit of stockinette in it, and so I thought that in fact, it was my friend Noelle's idea. Noelle of Knits and Pieces, the podcast, knitting podcast, and Noelle suggested, she's one of the smartest knitters I know, so if she offers some advice, I'm going to take it. She suggested alternating right from the beginning, and this was going to use 3 skeins. So you start with the first 2, and then when you get to about 50% of both of them, you add in the third, and then you finish the 50% of the one ball. New ball is the third one, and then when you get to 50% of the new ball, you go back to the original one of the original 2 that you set aside. And that way, if there are some inconsistencies in your dye lots, because this is, you know, yarn is unique and the colorways, they're not going to be exactly the same. That way you're not going to be able to tell. You're not going to have that line where half of the project looks one way and then the other half of the project looks different because of differences in the dye. And so it's a really neat little trick to have your yarn look really homogeneous. Is that I'm not saying that right? Homogeneous? All mixed together. all mixed together so that it makes just one really beautiful project. So for the Caroline shawl, because it is a lot of garter mixed in with some lace, I think that I'm going to be perfectly safe just to go one ball at a time. And when I get to the last 25%, then I will start alternating in the second skein. I don't think it's going to take more than 2 skeins. And then I'm hoping that I'm going to have this third skein for a really beautiful pair of socks. So that is my New Year's cast on restart for January 1st. So I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, so the other knitting that I did was I've put a few rows into my other Josh project that I have on the needles, and this is my triangular curve shawl. I've got a link in the drop down box below to her Ravelry page where you can find her designs. She's from the Netherlands. And I've added in my little gingerbread man progress keeper because I don't know what I was saving him for, because he is so cute. Let's get him to focus there. He's adorable. Look at that little gingerbread man. He's so cute. So this was a progress keeper that came with my 12 Days of Christmas sock yarn from Timber Yarns. And I don't like using progress keepers on my socks because I find that because I'm using a 12-inch circular needle, I find that the progress keeper always feels like it's in my way, and I don't like using them. I do use stitch markers, especially on my gusset decreases, and I always use a stitch marker to mark the beginning of my round, but I only use the little small ones, the little small round ones, or the light bulb shaped ones. Progress keepers, I don't like using them on my socks, but I love using them on my shawls. And so even though it's a gingerbread man and so it's holiday themed, I'm gonna use this little guy on this shawl because I just love it. I tend to stick it through a couple of stitches when I'm adding it on because I'm always super paranoid that it's going to pull and pull that stitch out of shape. So I've added a couple of rows, and this yarn was yarn that my friend Adrienne dyed back at the very beginning of her yarn dyeing time. And in fact, sadly, she no longer dyes. But this beautiful, beautiful yarn has some cashmere in it, and it's just the softest yarn. And so I just enjoy working on it. It's one of those, it's garter stitch, and it's simple and straightforward, and it makes this really pretty curved shape. So that's been nice just to knit a few stitches into that every day. Okay. Last but not least, Savon, my stitching. Last night I had a couple of hours where we were just watching television as a family, and so I put some more stitches in. So look at that. It is filling in that final last little corner. I've finished the, I'm like few stitches away from finishing this inner light border first. I like to do the ecru stitches first and then the fill in, because I just find that that makes the whiter stitches look better. Personal preference. Other people like to do it the other way around. I prefer to do the lighter stitches first and then fill in. Yeah, so this I did most of this. I did this is new. I've got the fill in here, that's new. I'm almost, I've almost got my borders matched up, and I think I did. That's probably, is that new since I showed you? I can't remember. And a little bit more fill in here. Oh, and up here as well. I did some of that. So I'm kind of, it's kind of coming together. So I am so excited. I think I can finish this in January. It's a possibility now, at least anyways, which is kind of exciting. So again, I know for those of you who visit with me frequently, you hear me say the same things all the time, and for that I apologize, but I always have new people who come and visit, and so they don't often hear me say the same things 100 times. So all the information should be in the drop down box below, but just quickly, the pattern is called Savon. It is by Landmark Tapestries and Charts. You can find those patterns at www.celtichobbies.com. Claire is the owner of that shop, and she has a wealth of other charts available on her shop as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing that. So, okay, now I better take a quick break because it is 11 and the auctions are finished, so I just better go and check on those, and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's a wrap. I know it just seems like a second or two to you, but it is it's now 11:15. I have left comments on all of the winning bidders. There were 6, 7 auctions that just wrapped up. So I'm going to have a nice, healthy amount to add to the total donation tomorrow for the number that I can share with you. So, and that's really all I came back to say, because I've already shown you my crafting. I've already talked about all the things, and now I need to get back to work. So it is a very rainy day out there today. It's supposed to rain a lot all day, so we're going to be losing all of the snow that we had, which is really too bad, because we even had a fresh snowfall this morning, and now it's turned to rain, and it's just going to be slushy and mushy and dirty and yucky. However, we had a white Christmas, and I'm grateful for that. So everything else, and I enjoy the sound of the rain, so I'll try to find the positive in losing my snow. Anyways, that's it for me today. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for the very last Daily Crafty Chat of 2020. I hope you're well, I hope you're safe, and I hope that you have a few minutes tonight to do some crafting for yourself. And I'll see you tomorrow. So happy stitching, everybody. Take care.